Hey, after a week of talking about learning from others, it's time for us to tell you what we discovered. And I'm going to tell you right now, it might surprise you. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey.
Hey, that was a short little nuance to your
figured I'd try some, new day, new thing, right?
I like that. Being a renegade. Nothing like that.
Someone pointed out to me the other day, I was explaining to her something that was in my mind that I was thinking I might really do that seemed off the beaten path. And she's like, this renegade thing that you guys talk about all the time isn't confined to just your work. It could be all aspects of your life. And I know that I kind of got it, but I didn't get it until she said it to me. And I didn't really think about how much, if you're a renegade, it applies across the board.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting. I think, so much of what we do in our work lives is a lot of the way we live our personal lives. I mean, I think they intersect because that's who we are. That's what's real for us. And so why would we necessarily change who we are at work? Although I think some people do, or who we change when we're at home. So always an opportunity to learn something.
That's it. That's why I keep getting up every morning.
Yes. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Friday edition of today's Antidote. As Bob shared, we've been talking all week about learning from others. And as we do every Friday, we are going to share our discoveries of the week, those things that we found from the conversation. So one of the things I love about the way we set this up is, we have topics and we talk about them throughout the week, and then you get a chance to sort of wrap it all up in a pretty little bow, which not only hopefully is helpful for our listeners and viewers, I found it very helpful for me to sort of really crystallize in my mind, what are the key takeaways? And I think that doing that is sort of an example of a great way to use your daily work or life is do things, talk about it, try something else, and then go back and measure it. And if we forget to measure it, what's the sense of trying if we're just going to try things and we haven't really stopped to think about what was the impact that had on who we are, our organization, our business. So welcome, everyone. We'll get to that in just a moment.
We got chatty, Tom, this morning, don't we?
I know. The moment struck me. I don't know why.
No, I like it. It was great. It's funny. That doesn't happen usually so quickly.
I know. It's the whole idea of the discoveries of the week was really about not necessarily measuring, but at least reviewing what were the conversations and what is the takeaway. And I just think that that's something we don't do enough of. It's great and it's almost easy to take action. Not always easy, sometimes very difficult. Yet once we do it, it gets easy to just keep taking action and taking action and taking action and never stopping to sort of look back and say, okay, what have we learned from the action that we've taken?
It's also our most popular podcast each week. Of the 5 episodes for the week, there's always an uptick when we get to discoveries of the week.
Well, that's because it's the weekend, not because people don't want to listen to all of it. They just want the shortened version of the key things.
I think there's some insights there, though. There's almost every week that what I walk away with at the end is far different than what I would have expected. If you had said to me at the start of the week, here's what we're going to do, here are the topics, I would have said, okay, at the end of the week, I'll be here. I haven't been at that place yet any week. And we've done this now for what? Almost 2 years?
Yes. Interesting thing to track.
To me to say out loud.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, again, that is similar, right? We decide we're going to take an action and we believe here's the results we're going to get or we think we're going to get. And similarly to what you have discovered, I think people start to discover that usually the results don't necessarily end or show up the way that we expect them to. And so I think that's why it's always fascinating to go back and understand where we're at now, because it's not necessarily where we thought we were going to be. So I'm looking forward to today's discussion about that. Before we get that, though, we want to welcome everyone. And if you are...
I think you welcomed them already, Tom.
Did I? Okay.
You did, yeah.
I'll keep moving along then. If you are watching the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or
LinkedIn Live,
please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas or what you have discovered from the week in the comments. We would love to hear them, see them, not hear them, see them. And we know that not only will what we share have impact on someone, what you will share will impact someone as well. So please feel free to add that to the conversation. It's great value to include. If you are listening to the podcast, there is room. Thank you. Yes. And we would love for you to rate our show
5 stars.
And we'd also love it if you could share it with others.
Tell others.
So that others can gain the value.
This keeps coming up.
That you have taken from this.
It's like a sound effect reel.
And there's always the opportunity, if you're listening to the podcast or if you're watching this in something else, to go into the Ring of Renegades. Go into our Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share your thoughts and ideas there, where we're trying to help others who are trying to take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. So,
and Tom, can I just real quick, every now and then someone says to me, well, what's this Ring of Renegades? And we talk about it very generally, but it's people from all walks of life, all over the country, now more and more all over the world, all of them who have self-identified as a renegade for whatever reason, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do and how to go about it. And it's not like you have to be a certain way. You can just be you, and it's a safe space to just be you. And as we've created it, talk about the things that matter to you, that they may not be the things that you can say at a networking event. You can't say at a networking event, I'm really worried because my marketing's not working, because then no one's going to talk to you. You can't talk about, geez, I'm really worried. I've got this one client, they're my biggest client, and they might disappear, and that could cost me a lot of money. I don't know what I'd do in my business, or I'm really struggling to lead my team. These are the types of things. This is a safe space, and I think I've come to value it more and more. And you and I have both made some really great relationships from the people in that group, some that we're doing business with, some that have helped us in great ways, and we've helped in great ways. So it's really a community of people dedicated to helping each other achieve whatever it is. You don't have to fit the cookie cutter.
Absolutely. And I think that's, and I think that's the interesting thing is so many of us could be a renegade. We all are. I think in our mind, you and I talk about this all the time, that we're all renegades if we choose that that's the path we want to take, because we're all doing something unique that no one else is copying, even though it might be similar. It's not always the same, because you have unique knowledge, experience, and perspective. So given that, let's move forward to the way we start every show outside of our introduction and welcome banter. What are you celebrating today, Bob?
I am celebrating that people can change. I was with a person yesterday who I thought would react a certain way to 2 things that I shared with her, and she did not react that way at all. She reacted in a way that was really helpful and supportive, and I was completely shocked by that. And it changed my whole day. I had a busy day, and after that morning interaction with this person, it just made things so much better for me all day.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. How about you?
So my celebration is I had a great conversation with a client yesterday afternoon. And I think what was so great about it was they came to the understanding that maybe their idea of success that they had in their head wasn't exactly what they thought it should be or could be. And it gave them the opportunity to really take pause. And I think for so many of us who have a lot going on, it's hard sometimes to really define success, or we think what it is. And then when we go back and try to prioritize what we're doing, the prioritization doesn't always meet what we define as success. And so it was, I thought, hopefully an eye-opening conversation for this person as they figure out how to move forward in what they want to do and how to avoid the overwhelm of too much to do and really focus on those things that are going to get them closer and closer to where they want to be. And again, what I celebrate is that I don't have to, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just asking them questions. Probably one of my favorite things to do is ask people questions so that I can learn from them. At the same time, they get a chance to learn for themselves of what's going on. So it just seemed to be a really good conversation in a week where we're talking about learning from others. That's my celebration.
Nice.
What is the Renegade world celebrating today, Bob?
Hey, you know what, Tom? There's only one thing to do on the first Friday of the Renegade celebrations. We're going to celebrate the simple fact that it's Friday. We made it through the week.
Awesome. I like it.
We're in the tail stretch here. We're just we're getting to the end. Now, some of us will work over the weekend. That's a choice we make. But I think there's a sense of closure on Friday, just like we have our discoveries of the week and we kind of close the book a little bit. I think it's the same thing for a lot of the business people and leaders that I talk to, that Friday is just that marking point of, okay, this is a stopping point, however short or long it is, and then we go back.
I like that. And do you want to share a little bit? So some people may be wondering, well, what's the nation celebrating? Which we have done for, I don't even know how many, but many episodes. And today and yesterday were a shift. Do you want to talk a little bit about that briefly, Bob?
Sure. We've been following the National Day calendar and picking something out of there, but it's gotten a little stale and a little flat. And we realized that renegades want to celebrate things. And as renegades, we should have renegade days. So if you're someone who wants to celebrate a day, we have a form to fill out that I think Tom might be posting a link to. He looks like he's doing a little work there. But we'd love to have you put something in that form, nothing self-promotional, nothing directly tied to a personal thing, but a day of celebration around something that's important to you. It could be, Tom does a lot of work with nonprofits. It could be, I want to celebrate all the nonprofits and the incredible work they do in our communities. I want to celebrate leaders. I want to celebrate people who get to work before 4 a.m. Whatever it is. There, I see he's put that link in there. So go to that. It's a little form. We'll ask you your name, give us some information, what you would celebrate, what day or month you would be interested in having that happen. And hey, we're renegades, so we can create our own days. And that's what we're going to do, darn it. Absolutely.
Take our own advice. I love it. Yes, please feel free. There's just a little form that allows us to better understand why you want to celebrate this day and why this type of a day would be valuable to other renegades. And I know that will continue to be, we will share that in the group. We'll share that here. And who knows, before we know it, we'll have our own calendar.
That's it.
All right. So now let's get to the heart of the subject today, learning from others, our discoveries of the week. Do you want to begin?
I would love to.
Take it away.
Over the course of the week, Tom, I realized that there are times that I have to admit I don't listen to others as much as I could or might benefit from. And I realized on Wednesday during our program, I don't know what you said, but I was listening to you and I was going through a couple of people. And I realized that there is a certain group of people that I talk to and I don't listen to. And there's a company that you and I pay a little attention to, and I paid more attention than you often. And I realized that I don't listen to what I might learn from them. And I saw a post from them on Facebook last night and read it this morning a second time. And I was like, wow, that's really something to learn. And so I think for me, this whole idea of listening to others is you got to really listen. You got to be committed. And it's not always easy to listen to others because they might tell you what you don't want to hear. They might tell you what you're afraid to hear. And they might actually help you figure things out a whole lot quicker if you just open your ears. That's kind of my push for myself. That's the mission for me. It's like I want to be open to everyone no matter what. The person who I'm least likely to listen to, that's the person I want to hear most.
I like that. Well, it's interesting. And one of the things as you're talking about that is I realized that so often I learn on this show from listening to you. As you're talking through something, it has an impact on me that usually then leads to a thought or an idea that I share. And I don't think I've really thought about it that way. And I've realized that that's one of the values of doing the show with someone else, is that I have a chance to listen to what you're sharing and then see how has that played out in what's real for me.
Right.
And I think that that's interesting because I just heard you say, you said there's people, I forget exactly how you said it, but you said talk to.
Mm-hmm.
As you're talking about, I need to listen to them more. And that idea of talking to someone sounds like a one-way street. I'm talking
Yes.
to them. When I'm talking with them, now it sounds more like a conversation. Or there are people we have conversations with. And I think those subtle things we don't always think about in the language that we use, that almost truly is telling us, yeah, I don't really listen to what they say. I talk to them. And I know that that's two little words that, well, that's just what you said, isn't necessarily the way it always is. I actually think that many times the words we use are intentional. And there's more to it than we might have thought. And so I think that's, one of my discoveries is how much I learn from listening to what you share. And there were some other really great ones throughout the week as well. I think the concept of, we talked yesterday about discarding, what to discard. We also talked the other day about, who we should try to learn from. And I think within each of those, there were some really great conversations. And I would suggest that if you feel like you don't have conversations with people you talk to or at them, that you might want to go back and listen to those other episodes of the week, earlier in the week. Because I think there's some real value in there that you can take away and use in your life to change, impact what's real for you. And I think, so my one thing, even though, again, I had a couple, I love the idea of we only have 100%. And at some point, new information comes in and we have to figure out what we're going to keep and what we're going to discard. And I loved our conversation yesterday about, you shared the idea of testing something out. That wasn't the word you used, but when someone gives you an idea, you try to flush it all out and figure it out. And you
evaluated in my mind, I think I said.
Yes, we don't always have to initiate or act on it.
Right.
And the first thought that came to my head was, well, if we don't act on it, how are we ever going to know if it has true value? Or are we just basing it on our own perspective, which we might not have all the knowledge and experience that we need to really make that kind of a decision. And we might kick something out before we actually dive into it to understand the value that it might have based on the way that someone shared it. And I thought that was really valuable. And I'm going to go, though, with my discovery of the week being that, and I think I shared this on Wednesday, that so often the greatest lessons that we can learn, the most learning that we can do, is when we listen to somebody who has a very different opinion or viewpoint than we do. It challenges our opinion. And if we are really allowed to listen to what they say, or not allowed, but if we are willing to listen to what they say, we may discover that some of the things that we have forever thought were quote unquote right were just what was real for us because we didn't know any differently. And I think that, to me, at a time when so often people think they are right and the other person is wrong, that it is a really great message to say, you might learn the most from somebody you completely disagree with. And learning doesn't necessarily mean changing. It just means understanding. So you may go ahead and be more convinced about what you thought was real based on what they're sharing, because what they're sharing doesn't make sense. You tested it, you've researched it, you've tried it, and that just doesn't fit with what's real for you. Or it could really open your eyes to something completely different.
There's also ways to do that can invite that. I know that we have a difference of opinion. I'm curious. I had someone ask me about a political choice I made about a month ago, and they said, I really would like to know why you voted the way you did, because it came out in a discussion. And they said, I'm not mad. I don't want to try to convince you of anything, but you're someone really smart. You're someone who pays really close attention. I just want to make sure I didn't miss something that's really important for me to know going forward. Well, that was really a great opening to me really sharing why a decision was made a certain way, because the person basically said, I want to know what you know so I can incorporate it, versus, hey, I heard you say that you voted this way. What were you thinking? Which is what so often happens. And I think it's how you set that up. I think admitting to a person, hey, you know what? Let me just say, this is going to be hard for me to listen to, because so much of what you're going to tell me is really going to hit me in the face hard. Bear with me. I really think it's worth my time and your time. I hope you value your time enough that you see this as a valuable thing. I'm not just going to dismiss it. I really want to understand. And I think that's the other part of listening that we didn't really talk about this week. It's listening to understand, not to hear the words, not to make a decision so much, but just to understand a different perspective, different experience, different knowledge, so that you can incorporate it in. And when I listen to understand, that's a different animal, because listening to understand is just, oh, okay, these people do this way. I didn't even know you could do it that way. Or, wow, that's not how I thought about it, but now that I see how they're thinking about it, that shifts how I think about it. And I think that's really it. The other thing, Tom, I feel like I'd be remiss if we didn't mention is people don't always say the real things that we have to hear from them. There's a lot of nonverbal communication. There's what they choose to leave out, how they handle things. I mean, sometimes the best thing you can hear from someone is what they don't tell you.
Or what they don't want to tell you and
Right.
will share eventually.
Right. Exactly. So,
well, and I would say that I would offer those are really good people to learn from, even though you may not.
Isn't everyone though really a good person to learn from at the end of the day?
Absolutely. And yes, I was just saying that because I think that if someone is only telling you what you want to hear, and you can't see past that, are you really learning, or are they just influencing? They're just trying to reconfirm what someone was saying. So I think that there's one of the values I really find in having a coach is they won't just say what I want to hear. They will say really and challenge me on, I don't really want to be asked that question. And they're willing to ask the question because that's the question that needs to be asked so that I could discover the answers that I wouldn't be able to find on my own.
And that really does accelerate the growth of yourself and whatever you're trying to do. It really does.
Yes.
To have those questions be asked at you from someone that you know is trying to help you. As John says, Tom, I'm going to drop this in. John says, coaches are invaluable. You can't put a value on it. There you go. I know the person who coaches him a bit, and I like that.
He may be just saying what you want to hear.
What's that?
He may be just saying what you want to hear.
And
I don't believe that.
It's fine. If he is, that's fine.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think that
I'm being very uncomfortable all of a sudden.
Funny how that tends to happen occasionally on this show.
It's 2 days in a row.
I think that it's one of those things and I would say that if you don't have someone in your world who asks the hard questions.
There you go. Now it's been fixed. John
Great.
Loves Tom.
Thanks, John. I love you as well. If you don't have someone in your world that asks you the hard questions, the questions that need to be asked to help you grow. Our Renegade Success Network would be a good place for that. That's, I think, what we do. Every week we do this check-in and check-up. And the question that I don't want to hear every week is, how is the progress of my book coming along? And there's someone in that group who every week asks for an update. And I need that to keep me accountable to what I have said I really want to do. Or I need to come out and say, you know what? I thought that was what I wanted to do. And now my perspective has changed. I have new knowledge and experience, and maybe that's not the case. I don't believe that's where I'm at. And that's why I appreciate this person always asking me. Because I think so often we can look at what's going on and think we have an understanding, because often we won't ask ourselves that hard question. So if that's
also hard if you're close to people, if colleagues,
sure.
They're not going to ask you that question. Your spouse, your significant other may not want to ask you that question, or you may not want to give them the real answer, because it can create a fracture that you don't want to have happen. So it's really nice. I know for me, it's really nice to be able to come to you, Tom, and just go, hey, here's what's going on in my business. And I don't really know what the hell I'm doing on this thing. And you don't go, how the hell can you not know what you're doing? I mean, you're running a business. What's your problem? You're just like, okay, well, can I ask you some questions? And it goes from there. And usually as you ask the questions and I start to answer them, it starts to become clearer in my head. What's in my head comes out in words, and you hear a sentence or I hear a sentence, and suddenly it's like, oh,
it happened last night. It happened last night with one of our members. When I started asking him questions, he was like, well, wait a minute, maybe my definition isn't what I truly want. And I don't think anyone else would ask him questions to lead to that, unless it was someone who was really interested in his growth, trying to help them move forward. And I think that was just a realization that there is so much value in being asked the questions we don't want to hear, and then really trying to struggle with and make those decisions that only we can make because we have our own knowledge, experience, and perspective. So I think if that's something that you're struggling with right now, send us a message, because Bob and I think would love to at least talk to you about what that looks like and how the Renegade Success Network, which provides you with one-on-one coaching as well as a community of others who are learning how to ask each of us those tough questions that we know we need. And we have a space where that is okay. I could go into that checkup meeting and be like, you know what? I'm tired of hearing that. Just stop asking me. And it has become a very safe space where no one is going to judge or get upset or call you out. They just want to help you be the best you, whether that's you as a person, you as a business, you as an organization, you as a leader, that you can be. So if you're interested, just hit us up and we will share information about it.
Hit us up. Wow, look at that.
I think that's the new language. Earlier in the week, Bob was saying, what? Send me a DM or something like that, thinking he was
hit us up.
I think hit us up is the language. I think. I could be wrong. So if that's wrong and there's other ways that we should be saying that, share it with us. All right, everyone. I think we
have a couple more comments, Tom, I want to throw in. John says, we had people not like hearing the truth, right, Bob? Yes, there are people that don't like the truth. And then truth is growth. And I think that's probably a good place to leave the program on, because there's a truth that we each have. And when we understand our truth, like you clearly found with that person yesterday, the real truth of what they were trying to do wasn't what they thought they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But that's a real eye opener, and that could be a huge shift.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think when we start to realize those things, we have the opportunity to have significant growth. And I think that's the challenge is we often don't get there, or we're not pushed to that point where we have to have those thoughts or ideas or make those decisions. Because, I think what was fascinating about that conversation is the person actually now has to go back and do some hard thinking. That they have two different definitions of success. And at some point they have to choose, which is the one. Doesn't mean I have to completely discard the other. It just means that I have to make a choice for now so that I can determine the actions I'm going to take. And as we go along, then you get to decide, is this truly success, or am I going through something, or do I maybe this is not, I just thought this was what it was. Really, as I'm going down this path, I've decided that's not. And now I can shift and go to the next definition. So it was just a real fascinating conversation and just appropriate for this week. So, all right, everyone,
Awesome.
Thanks so much for being with us today and this week. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If you have things you want to share, please feel free to put it in the comments, or you can go to the Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share it there. We look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group this weekend, or we'll see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you and celebrate that it's Friday. Yay!
Woo-hoo!
Woohoo!
Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.